Welcome, friends. Welcome down the rabbit hole.
There's no way that you can give all of yourself to, 17, 18 kids equally, to every wife equally.
I have been running around like a crazy person in 90-degree weather in Malaysia, getting ready for soccer season to start on the weekends for my kids. And I love my kids. They are wonderful and perfect and different in their own unique ways. And I love them so much. And yet they are so much work. But I digress, because I'm here to talk about Toni and Mykelti from Sisterwives and their new Patreon page.
Honest opinion about my dad.
Okay, so it's basically like so many of the brown kids are realizing that there's a huge fan base for Sisterwives, and a lot of fans want to hear them speak out about their experiences with their family and on the show. Many of the kids have watched Gwen Brown make a significant amount of money from starting a Patreon and doing a YouTube channel. And I have to be honest with you, I'm here for it. People have been making money off of their story and their image for years now. It makes total sense for them to want to take back the narrative about their lives and be able to get some compensation from it. So, of course, I was finally able to join Patreon. It's hard to do it because of my Malaysian credit card or whatever. And I got to watch several videos posted by Mykelti, Toni, and Gwen. Apparently Gwen is posting the videos from her YouTube channel early in her Patreon. So it was kind of cool to be able to sit around a couple nights ago and watch what the kids had to say. But, I didn't make a video about what the brown kids had to say on their Patreons because, to be honest with you, when I watched Gwen's latest video, it made me cry. It wasn't anything sad. She was just responding to an episode, and she was posting it earlier in her Patreon feed for people who, subscribe to Patreon, and I think that episode is up now on her YouTube channel. She wasn't feeling sad about anything, seemingly. If she was hiding it well. She was responding to the episode in which Isabel gets a graduation party from Christine. Maybe Kody also participated, and the other wives. And something about it just really touched me and made me feel sad. I'm sad that we have been watching the disintegration of several marriages on that show. And I'm sad for the ways it must affect the children, even if they try to put on a brave front about it. I'm going to be honest. I think the thing that made me really sad about watching this reaction from Gwen, it was because in both Gwen's video and another video I watched with Mykelti, at the end of the videos, they say something to the effect of, if my dad ever sees this or we ever talk about this, I know in Mykelti's video, it was I hope he knows that I love him and care about him and think he's a good person, whatever. And I was just thinking to myself, it's really sad to watch how distanced these children seem to be from their father. That's the case for a lot of us. My dad wasn't around, my grandparents raised me, so I'm not trying to be they're the only ones so awful. No one experiences this kind of distance from their father. No, but it does make me sad. And when I really think about a lot of the things that I've watched, even on the show, not what's going on in private, it does seem like Kody is so overwhelmed by having so many wives and children that he is more distanced than a father would be if he lived in the home with his kids, even if he was a shit father, right? But he had to be in the home with the kids and they were around him and they got to talk to him every day. He's so living life at a distance from his children. And something about it, it just touched me in this kind of ping in my heart kind of way. Because when you work so hard and you become famous on this show and the money starts rolling in and you're putting your life out there for everyone. Wasn't the point of all of it, like if the point was to try to make money and make a better lives for yourself, wouldn't the point ultimately be that you could be happier, that your children would be happier, that maybe you could stay home and develop better relationships with your kids and your wives if you've got $50,000 an episode rolling in? Like, what was the point if not to have better relationships, more time with your kids? Like, those things are available to him in ways that it's not available to families who are like struggling financially or, have other issues that the Browns haven't had to deal with since they got on this incredibly popular show.
He's done a lot of things that are probably pretty bad, if I'm being honest, but I also think that he's superhuman. I think that he's been given a lot of stuff in life that are hard to deal with, and I think they're hard for anybody to deal with.
But anyway, people started messaging me repeatedly about these videos and asking, am I going to put up my response to any of it? Specifically, a lot of people were really coming down hard on Mykelti and Toni.
Like he was getting after me. I was probably his hardest daughter to raise. So ultimately, I did just definitely a hard time and a hard relationship with him. But I basically, my husband, so my dad and I didn't get along very well.
So Mykelti and Toni have the newest Patreon page, and if you have been following what's going on with all these interviews, Mykelti is the one daughter which Gwen spoke out about, saying that she had witnessed Mary, quote-unquote, attack Mykelti. Gwen said that she really likes Mary and thinks that she's a good person, and that she's only been physical like a couple of times, and one of them was with Mykelti. So there's a lot of interest in hearing what Mykelti has to say about all of this.
Honest opinion about my dad. I ultimately think he is a good guy. I think he's done a lot of things that aren't so good. I think he's done a lot of things that are probably pretty bad, if I'm being honest, but I also think that he's superhuman. I think that he's been given a lot of stuff in life that are hard to deal with, and I think they're hard for anybody to deal with. I know that he, on the show, especially on the Sisterwives show, he's kind of put under, he's represented really bad.
So in regards to this statement, in another live Q&A that Toni and Mykelti did, I think it was yesterday, Mykelti seems to make like some excuses for the way her dad is portrayed on the show. And she basically says like, the producers are trying to create a certain narrative and they portray him in a certain way.
And I'm not going to say that the things that he said on the show are untrue, because if he said them, then that's, he said them. But I do think that there are some things that are not said, and there are some things that are taken out of context on the show. There are several things that he didn't really treat my mom very well, and he has not treated all of his wives very well. But any relationship is a two-way street. I think vice versa. Maybe there are some things that they didn't treat him so hot as.
One thing I haven't heard any of the kids speak out about is like, how does the rhetoric and the programming of the AUB and how they look at polygamy really influence all of this, right? Because I have the people that I don't like on this show and the wives that I do like, but if I'm being really honest about everything, all of the adults on this show, their behavior and the way that they think and act at one point was heavily influenced by believing in a doctrine that's very much based in a system that I cannot see working in any kind of positive way for family members who aren't like the one head father. Because the wives clearly go through a lot of suffering. The kids are not getting the time and involvement they would get if there were less children and less wives. And then the sons in these families often get written off early because there's no way to sustain having one male to like 30 females in a normal human community. So the boys are getting pushed out like when they turn 18. I'm not saying that that's the specific way that the Sisterwives chose to do it, but I do think Kody kind of has that mentality. So how is anyone winning when trying to live this doctrine. And I want to know more about what the kids have been taught the doctrine really says and means.
What is your honest opinion of Kody Brown, aka your wife's father?
My father-in-law, as you would say. So here's the thing about Kody Brown. I think he's an awesome guy. I think he's an awesome guy that's made mistakes, and he's put himself in a very hard situation. And one of the things that I told Mykelti about Kody and a perspective to help her move forward and have a better relationship is that I don't know of any man, any person that is so capable and good that if he had 4 wives and a public TV show and 18 kids, I don't know anyone who wouldn't mess up.
In certain ways, Toni is more right than any of us. It's really the doctrine, the idea that you should take on multiple wives, that women should be married to one husband and deal with him sleeping with other women, that you should be grateful for all of this, live every day like you love your life, that all of the kids should get along and live together and deal with one wife being the first and legal wife. All of that doctrine is really the problem, and believing in the doctrine is what caused Kody, Mary, Janelle, Robin to follow this lifestyle from what we understand. In all honesty, they were always all set up for failure and unhappiness, in my opinion. Okay, so I've just shown you a very small snippet of what Toni and Mykelti are sharing on their Patreon. I will link the Patreon below if you want to join. For me, I have no problem giving them $7 a month to hear ahead of time, what they have to say in response to, everything that's going down with Sisterwives. But I guess it was yesterday that they did some kind of a live through their Patreon page on an app called Crowdsource. They had some pretty interesting things to say, and people have really spoken out with major backlash towards Mykelti and Toni, because most people feel like they're being way too forgiving and kind to Kody and Robin. Okay, so here's what people are saying on the most popular Sisterwives Reddit page. The title of the post is "Follow Me on the Unfollow Mykelti Train. Choo choo." I hate when reality show people say editing made me look bad. While shows definitely edit storylines and situations to make TV better, these people are saying horrible things in regards to Kody, Robin, all that. The editors aren't making you say terrible things about your sons and wives. When Cody's doing his talking heads, unless he's reading from a TLC script, which would be a whole other problem, the things he's saying are his own thoughts. Mykelti is trying to say that the show edits Kody and Robin to look worse and doesn't explain why they speak the way they do and the things they say about the family. So many people were all over these comments. They were like, it's not fair to say that the edits are what caused them to look this way. But I don't think that's really true, because we found out that the show is so fake. So why wouldn't the edits be working towards a certain narrative? They're going to insist on the cast members saying certain things in order to create this narrative. The show was fake. They weren't showing their real lives. So it makes perfect sense to me that it actually is edited, or that they're pushed to say certain things, or even they set up scenarios that don't really exist. I absolutely believe that they have set up scenarios on that show that don't really exist and tried to film around them, or they would exaggerate certain situations. I mean, that's got to be happening. So to me, I'm not a Robin and Kody fan, except that, I'm going to be the 5th wife, so I've got to deal with it and learn to love them in my own way. But I'm not pro Robin and Kody, and yet I'm sure that there are things that this show kind of tries to make you think are going on that may not be going on. He does say a lot of shitty things about his wives and kids, especially in the latest tell-all, but I was wondering if maybe that was a little bit scripted too. If not, then he is being a total ass and there's no getting around that. But then some of the fans are like, but Gwen says, because of course every child has a different opinion on what's going on. They don't always see what all the other kids see. So Gwen has stated everybody gets a fair edit and that Kody is worse when the cameras aren't rolling. That's so true. Gwen was like, he's much nicer on the show than he is in real life. That's disturbing, but I believe it. When he gets into his dictator mode and starts shouting commands at everyone, he is terrifying, and not in a take charge kind of way. It's more of an unhinged psycho kind of way, and that's when the cameras are rolling. Okay, someone said, if editing was untrue, Janelle and Christine and Mary would have to come forward and say Kody actually did come over and help. We did have family events. They just didn't show it on TV, but instead they all left him. So I will say, I think that all the adults on the show are probably under some kind of a contract where they really couldn't speak out about if the show is scripted. I mean, that's part of being on the show. They're never supposed to say, that they told me to say this, they told me to do this, we didn't really do it this way. There are definitely things about their lives that have been severely affected by filming. We even hear Gwen say in one of her lives, this is a small thing, but it is something that is indicative of what was going on in the lives of the kids. Gwen said that they used to not be able to sing happy birthday at birthdays anymore because they were always filming for them. And happy birthday was copyrighted, so they wouldn't sing it. They had to do something else. And she said, it's just recently that TLC's gotten around that copyright, so now we can sing it again. So it's interesting to think about how their lives were really altered by the filming that was going on. Okay, so one thing that Mykelti talked about in the live is that she said, Robin, people always complain about Robin not really crying tears, but the reality is that she is sad, but she makes a conscious effort not to cry tears because she says, quote unquote, that's right, she doesn't want to ruin her makeup because she cares about her appearance. And then she kind of goes on to say Robin's been really heartbroken and shattered because she's very much an empath and she feels other people's emotions so much, and this has been really hard for her. People are going to come for Mykelti about this, and I feel bad for her, but we all know that Mykelti has had a positive and strong relationship with Robin, and most people, the fans that watch all of these YouTube channels and want to sign on to the Patreons and get really into the show, they are mostly not Robin fans, right? They really think that Robin is a big cause of the breakup of the family. And I have so many issues with Robin. Specifically, I'm going to address it in another video. Some of the shit that I feel she's done in regards to sort of making fun of Janelle for Janelle's lifestyle and the fact that Janelle doesn't want to spend a lot of money, wants to go camping, loves hiking, loves outdoors, doesn't need super expensive nice clothes. I really don't like the way that Robin comes off as treating her, in my opinion. Look out for another video about that. Okay, then another fan says, have I been watching a different show than Toni and Mykelti? And someone else says, if she really cared about her appearance so much, why hasn't she addressed those god-awful hatchet eyebrows or the tight Nellie Olsen ringlets? I don't know. I think Robin looks fine. I've done my eyebrows like her, to entice Kody on Cameo now and then. And it's it's not a terrible look. Could be worse. Okay, then a big thing that Kody and Mykelti talk about on their live, which people are really not happy with, is that Mykelti starts to say that basically the whole COVID rules thing, it's really unfair to completely blame her dad because, quote unquote, most of the COVID rules came from the production company, came from TLC, and they were the rules for the show. People are like, that doesn't make sense. That's not how we've seen it play out over the past couple of years. This person says, how would TLC making the COVID rules even work? Christine and Janelle were still traveling. The kids were working and going out. Mary was locked away in her castle alone. And somehow TLC forced Robin and Kody to make up a bizarre list of rules that they only enforce on some people, but not everyone. If Mykelti is going to lie, she should make them more believable. I don't think Mykelti is lying. I think that this is what she believes to be true. She may not know like how everyone else experienced what happened during COVID. She was living away from her parents. She has a husband and kids, and she was busy in her own world in many ways. Mykelti also made a statement kind of like responding to the fact that Gabe seemed really upset in the past season about his dad forgetting his birthday. Okay, so Mykelti's response is kind of like, it wasn't that bad, it wasn't that big of a deal. And people are very upset about this. They are writing all over Reddit and in the Facebook groups that like, how could Mykelti say that? Like, we watched Gabe cry on the show and it was very sad. Again, this is Mykelti's perspective. You know, maybe she's talked to Gabe and he's like, whatever, it's fine. Who knows? But the thing is, like, I received a lot of messages about all of this because people are like, can you believe, down the rabbit hole, can you believe what Mykelti is doing? Can you believe what Gwen is saying? Like, the only person who's honest here is Peyton. That's what I'm hearing a lot of. I just want to say and reiterate that I disagree. Each of these kids is well within their rights to have their own opinions and their own feelings about everything that happened to them. There were 18 children from Kody, and all of them had different experiences, and they're all valid. Kody was a different person 10 years ago, and all the kids have been exposed to different situations with him. Also, I will never fault Mykelti and Gwen or anyone for being of the mindset of like, I'm only willing to share so much. I mean, Mykelti has said, as I've showed you here in this video, that like she didn't get along with her dad for a long time. Her dad has hurt her. Like, she's not saying nothing but good stuff about Kody. But it's up to her like how much she wants to share. I think it's clear, like based upon the way that Gwen and Mykelti are speaking out, that they want to be careful about what they say. It's their family, and it's going to be their family forever. Long after Sisterwives is over and all of us are gone and not paying attention to them anymore, Gwen and Mykelti will still have their siblings, their mom, and their dad. And they probably love them and don't want to hurt them in certain ways. So I would never push them to be like, I'm mad at you for speaking so positively about this person or that person. I really can't feel that way. You know, I like hearing what they have to say. I've said flat out that I feel like Peyton is overly honest, and I really enjoyed the interview that he gave. A lot of people felt like he spoke so much of what we as viewers have been thinking and feeling about the show. So of course, that's why some of us would feel like a little more akin to him. But then other people constantly badmouth Peyton and have so much negative shit to say about him. So all I want to say is that all of these kids are seemingly like good people. I've watched them grow up on this show, and I care about them and hope that they have good lives. From a distance, I care about them. They're just kids. They're young. They're finding their way in the world. Some of them are just starting to like push back against their parents. Some have pushed back 5-10 years ago, and they're done with that. They're going to feel differently about everything 10 years from now, and it'll be interesting to hear what they have to say then. I don't think that Mykelti and Toni owe us anything. They can present their reality any way they want to. You should check out their Patreon. The video quality is much better on there, and there's a lot more content than what I've shared here. I like them, just like I like Peyton and I like Gwen. I don't agree with everything they have to say, none of them. I don't agree with everything anybody has to say. So what do you guys think? I want to hear from you. Leave some comments below. Thank you for joining me down this rabbit hole, and please look out for my next video.